In this session, we will dive into hands-on experience using LangGraph and build agents that interact with language model and utilize tools and collaborate together to solve a specific problem. We will apply concept from the previous Agentic framework series session. While this session is self-contained, it does not require any prerequisites. However, I would suggest to watch the earlier session for better understanding of various agentic frameworks. Let's walk through below code. So we will start with the LangGraph intro, and the objective here is to understand basic blocks of LangGraph such as the state, node, and edges. This will give us a glimpse of fundamental elements of LangGraph. Then we will turn our focus on LangGraph tools. We will see how set of tools can be provided to graph, and we will use LLM to invoke these tools conditionally. Uh, then we will extend the above example to build a persistent uh, chatbot and learn how to persist chat history in memory or in persistent database. So before diving into the code, let us have a brief idea about LangGraph. The core idea or the approach of LangGraph is to solve a problem by graph principle. So you can solve the problem either by defining a workflow using the graph or making a decision tree. And the three fundamental elements of LangGraph is are node and edge and the state. So node is like where the function gets executed. Edge is the one which connects two nodes for a conditional flow or the path you can consider. And a state is where you maintain the state or the messages when the flow is transitioning from one node to the next node. So now let's start with the code. So with this code, we will just understand like node, uh, uh, edges, and the states. And in this code, we will not use uh, a large language model because here the idea is just to get used to the basics of LangGraph. So let's start executing the first block, then we go to the second. And just to keep things simple, we have here two functions which we will use to call from two different nodes. So instead of calling the large language model, so let us start by calling two of these local functions. So here we are going to load our keys. So once we have loaded our keys, so the in the very first step we will define the state object which will hold the list of messages when the workflow is transitioning from one node to the next node. So in the next step, we go and define the graph builder, and we also define our nodes. So the node, when we are defining the node, it takes a state as a parameter. And one thing to note is a state is in immutable object. So what it means, like we have to create a new instant of the state and then return the state from the uh, function. And our first node calls get AI joke function, and our second node calls get funny comment function. And once we have defined our nodes, basically we go and add the nodes to graph builder, and then we construct the graph. For example, in this case, our first node will appear just next to the start, and there is a transition between the first node and the second node. And once second node gets executed, so that is basically the end of our workflow. And after building the graph builder, what we do is we compile the graph. So once we say compiling the graph, what it means, like now our graph builder is ready to execute. So now we pass our user prompt. So in this case, we have constructed the user prompt, and we have given the role as a human, and the content is hello, how are you? And then we just go and execute our uh, graph. So let's execute this piece of the code, and then we see. So here is a response we get from the above graph execution, and you can see very well, like node 1 has its own output, and node 2 gave a different output based on what functions they were supposed to call. Or so now, from a visual intuition perspective, we can display our graph, the one which we have constructed. And so we can see, like, our graph has two nodes. One is the first node and the second node, and this is a flow of the graph. So so just for a quick recap of this code, we have seen that how easy it is to construct a graph in a lang uh, graph framework. And in the next code, what we do, that instead of calling this local function, we will integrate this code to call large language model. So let's jump on our second code. And in this code, what we are going to achieve is we'll build a chatbot. The chatbot will have access to tools, and this chatbot will get integrated to the large language model. So let's get started. So the first thing, let's execute the first block of the code where we do the imports, then go and load our keys. And if you notice here, for our tool setup, what we have done, that we are going to use this Google Serper API wrapper, and we construct our tool. And then we will pass that tool to our model. So let's see over here. So in the block number 6, the change what we have made is, now we are getting instance, or the connectivity to our GPT. And once we get the LLM, what we do is basically we go and bind our tool. In this case, our tool will be this Google Serper API. We go and bind this tool to LLM, and then we start building our graph. So our first agent, we will just define it as a chatbot which takes the state. And if you see here, we are literally saying, like, when it receives a message, so we take the message out of the state, and then we make a call on our LLM with tools instance. And this is where we have binded the tools to our LLM instance. And that's it. We go and build the tool, and we have a two node. One is the node which is the chatbot, and the second node is basically our tools. And and what it means is, now our chatbot LM can call the tool node to execute search on internet. Now we go and connect these nodes using our conditional edge. And this is where we say, like, the chatbot can call tools uh, conditionally. And let's say execute this program. So, I'll just try to. Okay, let's say I am John. Introduce yourself. So this is the message which has come from our uh, GPT, and what it says that, hello John, I am IA here to assist you with the informations and all those things. So let me ask one more question to this, and I will ask, what is capital of France? So my question was, what is the capital of France? And it comes back saying that the capital of France is Paris. So one uh, point I want to bring is, in the very first conversation, I have introduced myself saying that I am John. Okay, now let's see if it can remember my name. So we'll say, what is my name? So it came back saying that I don't have access to personal information about you unless you have shared during our conversation. So what it literally means is, our chatbot is not able to recall or persist the conversation which has already happened. So it is acting like just answering the question which has been asked, but it doesn't have access to the questions or the conversations which were done earlier. So in our next code, what we do is we fill this gap. I mean, we will make a small change, and the LangGraph is capable of storing conversation history. Uh, either we can store it like in a persistent storage like a database, or it can be also in memory storage. So let's jump to our the third code. So in our third code, where we will store the chat history in memory, so we'll make a very small change. First, we go and import this SQLite 3 for persistent memory. And we have written a simple function whose whole purpose is to return the type of the memory. So now to persist our chart history, all we have to do is basically get the instance of memory, and we have to pass this when we are compiling the graph. So uh, now, while compiling the graph, it takes one parameter like a check pointer, and that is where we pass our uh, memory, and that's it. So let's say execute this portion of the code. And okay, looks like I have to run the code from beginning. Maybe I didn't run, so let's try again. So now we will do the same testing what we have done earlier. I am John. Yourself. Then let's see. uh, okay, I'll ask the same question. What is capital of France? So it comes back saying capital of France is Paris. Then I go and ask, what is my name? And it did answer back saying that your name is John, and this it has picked up from my first conversation. So now we have seen, like, with how easy it is to build a workflow using LangGraph, and also attach memory for persisting our chat history. So that is all for this session. If you like the content and find it useful, please subscribe. And any feedback, comments are most welcome.